Have you ever found yourself sitting in your car in the driveway, long after the engine has been turned off, just staring at the steering wheel? The house is right there. Inside, everything is exactly as it should be. The mortgage is paid, the career is stable, the family is cared for. Or perhaps you've finally secured that hard-won independence you spent your 20s fighting for. On paper, your life is a success. You have checked the boxes, solved the problems, and kept the machinery of your daily existence running smoothly. Yet, in that quiet moment in the driveway, a strange, heavy question settles into the silence. You look at everything you've built, and you think, is this it? Is this all there is? For a massive generation of adults currently navigating their late 40s and 50s, this quiet question isn't just a passing thought. It is a persistent, low-frequency hum vibrating beneath the surface of daily life. It isn't the dramatic, loud panic of a traditional midlife crisis. There is no sudden urge to buy a flashy sports car or blow up a stable life. Instead, it is something much quieter, much deeper, and far more exhausting. It is a profound state of depletion, a feeling that while everything on the outside is perfectly fine, the inside feels strangely, quietly empty. To understand why this specific feeling is so incredibly prevalent right now, we have to look at the unique blueprint of a generation that was raised to be the ultimate survivors. We have to talk about the Latchkey kids. If you grew up in the 70s, 80s, or early 90s, there is a high probability you were a Latchkey kid. You belong to the generation that came home to empty houses after school. You let yourself in with a physical house key worn like a necklace or hidden under a fake rock on the porch. You figured out how to make your own after-school snacks, how to do your homework without supervision, and how to resolve arguments with your siblings before your parents got home from work. In that era, self-sufficiency wasn't just a personality trait, it was a survival strategy. We learned very early on that the world was a place where you had to rely primarily on yourself. If you lost your key, you figured out how to wiggle through a basement window. If you scraped your knee, you cleaned it up yourself. The unspoken rule of our childhoods was simple: don't make trouble, don't complain, and handle it. We carried this exact blueprint straight into adulthood. We became the ultimate pragmatists, the professional problem solvers. We were the ones who could handle the pressure, manage the transitions, and keep our heads down. We navigated the massive, dizzying shift from an analog world to a digital one. We adapted to wildly shifting economic landscapes, entered the workforce, and built our lives through sheer determination, grit, and effort. But there is a catch to being a professional survivor. When you spend decades focusing entirely on what you have to do, you gradually lose touch with who you are. The survival skills that served us so well in the first half of life, the ability to compartmentalize, to ignore our own discomfort, to just get the job done, eventually become the very things that isolate us from our own inner lives. That quiet driveway moment, that is the modern-day equivalent of the empty living room we unlocked as children. Only this time, we aren't waiting for our parents to come home and take over. We are the parents. We are the adults. And we are realizing that no one is coming to relieve us of our shift. In psychology, there is a well-recognized transition that occurs in the middle stretch of life. The first half of our existence is naturally outward-facing. It is about building the container of our lives. We focus on establishing an identity, carving out a career, finding a partner, raising children, buying a home, and securing our place in the world. For Latchkey kids, this phase felt like a natural extension of childhood. We were finally in control. We built our forts, locked our doors, and made our own rules. This required an immense amount of external energy. We were constantly striving, reacting, and doing. But once that container is built, a subtle shift begins to happen. The energy required to maintain a container is fundamentally different from the energy it took to build it. When the building phase slows down, the distractions that kept us busy start to fade. The children grow up and begin to leave. The career reaches a plateau where the next promotion or project doesn't offer the same thrill it once did. The daily routines become highly predictable. And in that space, when the noise of striving finally quietens, we are left alone with the container we built. We look inside it, expecting to find deep fulfillment, but instead, we often find a vacuum. We realize we spent so much time constructing the house that we forgot how to actually live in it. This is the origin of the silent void. It is the exhaustion of a spirit that has spent its entire life running on the fuel of obligation, duty, and hyper-independence. Now, the fuel tank is running dry, and the old ways of refilling it, working harder, buying more, staying busier, simply do not work anymore. This exhaustion is compounded by the unique, heavy position many of us occupy today. We are the sandwich generation. We find ourselves squeezed tightly between the needs of our aging parents who require more physical and emotional support, and our emerging adult children who are trying to find their footing in an increasingly complex and uncertain world. We are the emotional and practical anchor for everyone around us. We manage the schedules, handle the medical emergencies, offer the financial advice, and absorb the collective stress of multiple generations. And because we are so incredibly good at being strong, everyone expects us to keep being strong. We are the ones who don't need help. We are the ones who always have it under control. But carrying that weight without a break requires us to constantly suppress our own needs, our own doubts, and our own weariness. As Latchkey kids, we are experts at putting our feelings on a high shelf, promising ourselves we will deal with them later. But later keeps getting pushed back, and the shelf is starting to buckle under the weight. It is easy to mistake this deep exhaustion for simple physical fatigue or standard corporate burnout. We tell ourselves we just need a vacation, a long weekend, or a new hobby. But when we take the vacation, we find that the emptiness follows us to the beach. When we try a new hobby, it feels like just another task on an already overcrowded to-do list. This is because this emptiness isn't a problem to be solved with more activity. It is a signal. It is your inner self trying to get your attention, telling you that the rules of the first half of life no longer apply to the second. In the first half of life, happiness is often defined by addition, adding achievements, adding possessions, adding responsibilities. But in the second half of life, meaning is almost always found through subtraction and simplification. It is about stripping away the roles we played out of survival or necessity and discovering who we actually are when we aren't being a provider, a caretaker, a boss, or a protector. For a very long time, we have defined our worth by our utility. We felt valuable because we were useful, because we were needed, because we were highly productive. But when you base your entire identity on what you can do for others, you eventually run out of yourself. Reclaiming your spirit in this stage of life requires a difficult, sometimes highly uncomfortable shift. It requires us to transition from asking, "What does the world need from me?" to asking, "What do I need from myself?" This transition isn't about selfishness. In fact, it is the most responsible thing we can do for the people we love. An exhausted, empty anchor cannot hold a ship in a storm. By tending to our own inner lives, we are not abandoning our responsibilities. We are ensuring we have the genuine depth and resilience to meet them with presence, rather than quiet resentment. So, how do we begin to address this exhaustion? How do we step across the threshold of this silent void and find something real on the other side. It starts by resisting our lifelong urge to immediately fix it. As natural problem solvers, our instinct when we feel empty is to try and fill the hole. We want to buy something, change something, or start a new project. But this void needs space, not noise. The first step is simply learning to sit with the emptiness without judging yourself. It means acknowledging that it is entirely okay to feel tired, even when your life is objectively good. It means giving yourself permission to say, I have built everything I thought I wanted, and yet I am still searching. The second step is to cultivate curiosity over achievement. For decades, we have lived in a world of metrics, goals, and outcomes. We did things because they led to a specific result. To heal this kind of deep exhaustion, we need to engage in things for the sheer, quiet joy of doing them, with absolutely no expectation of success, recognition, or productivity. It could be walking through the trees without headphones, picking up an old instrument we haven't played in 30 years, or just sitting on the porch and watching the rain fall. These moments of unstructured, unproductive time are where the spirit finally begins to breathe again. Finally, we have to look at our connections. Many of us have plenty of acquaintances, colleagues, and family members, but very few places where we can show up fully, drop our protective shield, and say, I'm struggling and I don't know what to do next. Finding even one or two people with whom we can share our genuine, unfiltered selves is incredibly healing. It reminds us that we are not alone in this quiet transition, that the driveway moment is a deeply shared human experience. The emptiness you might be feeling right now is not a sign of failure. It is not a symptom of a life gone wrong. It is actually a sign of growth. It is the natural discomfort of a soul that has outgrown its old survival armor and is waiting for something new to form. The silent void is not an ending. It is an invitation. It is the gateway to a different kind of life, one that is defined not by how much we can carry, but by how deeply we can live. If you have felt this quiet exhaustion, if you have sat in that driveway wondering where the spark went, please know that you are not alone in the quiet. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. How do you find meaning when the old survival routines start to fade? What has helped you reconnect with yourself in this stage of life? Let's start a conversation and support each other through this next chapter. Thank you for listening, and please, take care of yourself.